Hi everybody, I'm coming in and we're going to be talking Below Deck Med. Again, I'm going to apologize for my voice. I'm a little more congested today than I was yesterday with the episodes recorded that released out yesterday. A little more congested this time around. Sorry. Um, but we're still, pretty good, feeling okay, so let's do this. Talk Below Deck Med. So, we kind of have maybe a couple of main topics in this episode. There isn't like a bunch of different things going on, but there's kind of more like those main points that kind of, well, at least one of them kind of, a couple things kind of bleeding into each other. Sorry for the visual. But as where we left off with the last episode was, Bree kind of talking to Ben, not Ben, that is not his name, Joe, whatever. So, yeah, whatever. So Ellie, on the drive back to the boat, said that she was interested in Joe. Okay. But Ellie is taking the stance of, I'm a Lamborghini, and, not everyone gets a free ride in a Lamborghini. And basically you need to work for it. So she's taking the approach that she's going to play hard to get. He needs to chase her, which you're on a yacht for 6 weeks. You're going to be forgotten about the minute you get off of this boat. So if you want to try and get some with the guy on the boat that you seem to have a thing for, just go for it. Like, you're not all that, really and truly. But what ends up happening is in the hot tub, there's clearly this kind of connection going on between Bree and Joe, and everyone who's in the hot tub dips out the hot tub, leaves just them, and something happened. Now, she takes when she's going to bed, says no one needs to know what happened. But from what we could see, visually, what we could see is there's obviously kissing, she's straddling him, bikini top comes off. We don't really know exactly how far it went, although she does use the term hook up, that they hooked up, which we'll get to in a second. And I'm just like, to me, when I hear someone say, we hooked up, I'm thinking, y'all fucked. Now, from my knowledge of from Jersey Shore days, that could also not mean sex. I can't remember who it was. Oh, it was Angelina that said, oh, we hooked up, and everyone took that as, oh, you had sex. But she's like, no, we kissed. And I'm like, now maybe that was just Angelina being Angelina. I don't know. But that's what I always think hooking up means. Hooking up means you had sex. Now, she said she wasn't going to say anything. But then she goes the next morning, tells Ellie, oh, by the way, we hooked up. Now, you could take this a couple different ways. Number one, she could just be telling her so she finds out from her and not find out from somebody else. I don't know. Or you could take this as, I'm rubbing it in your face that I know you're into him, and you know that I'm kind of into him too. You snooze, you lose, and here we go. I don't know which way to put it, but obviously Ellie is upset and kind of thinks that she did it on purpose. So, yeah, she's acting a little weird with her, whatever. But I guess throughout the day, she's kind of catching on to the fact that she's acting a little weird with her, and it actually goes to her and says to her, like, did I do something? Are you mad at me? Like, whatever. And she's like, well, I mean, I guess we could talk about it. And she kind of just lays it all out there. I was into him, blah, blah, blah. But if I recall, when they had this conversation in the laundry room, she basically made it seem that she didn't really care either way. So now you care. It's so confusing. And again, even at the club, you snooze, you lose. You're over there doing selfies when she's, talking to the guy you like. Like, it's just, anyways. So, yeah, she So she's upset. She's like, this isn't going to affect work, but otherwise, like, this has changed the relationship. And they're roomies. I completely forgot the fact that they're roomies, but this is not gonna go good. So here's then what happens. Kind of go on to the next thing. Well, let's back up before I go to the next thing. She, I guess, was gonna be like, I'm gonna sleep in the crew mess because I don't feel comfortable sleeping in my bed. And Nathan sees her in the crew mess, tells Joe she's sleeping in the crew mess, and Joe says, no, let's like get her in here. She can sleep in here. He kind of gives her like, I guess a mattress or something. I don't even know, but gives her somewhere that she could sleep on the floor and be more comfortable in an actual room than sleeping in the crew mess. Because he kind of feels somewhat responsible, kind of feels bad, knows how it feels, whatever. So he did. So it's very nice of him. But he says, I don't want that to become a pattern. So we'll get back to that. The next day now, they're kind of like getting ready, prepared for the next charter coming on, that's coming on a little later. And if we recall, I don't think I mentioned this in my episode last week, but Aesha did break glass accidentally, and like her finger, her hand, or I don't know if it was her hand or his one finger or whatever, was bleeding. And she goes to Captain Sandy and says, like, I broke glass the night before, a couple nights ago or whatever. Now, if you looked at her thumb, it had like that black line on like near the nail, which gave her the indication that there's an infection growing. And she says, I think there's also glass in my finger because I can kind of feel it. So Captain Sandy's like, okay, well, we're going to have to get you to the hospital, get that figured out, because she's like, I don't want my interior to go down when we're kind of dealing with the exterior things that need to be worked upon, as well as a chef. So yeah. But she gets that done. She's all fine. She gets stitches. She's real fucking excited for having stitches because she's never had stitches before. She's like, I'm so excited. Yeah, I love her. Anyway, but while she's out, the main reason I'm bringing this up, while she's out, getting her finger figured out. With Ellie, I guess naturally being second stew, she's kind of the one that's gonna kind of be the person to go to and whatever during this. So while they get provisions on the boat, I guess Ellie must have gone somewhere with some of the provisions, I don't know. And they're like, where are we going to put the provisions? And Bree's there. And Bree's kind of like, well, I don't know. And both Jono and whoever, I think it was Joe, were like, you're in charge right now. Tell us where to put it. So she says, put it on the sun deck and we'll figure it out after. And instead of Ellie just kind of being like, okay, yeah, maybe we could have put it somewhere else, whatever, you know, for next time, it's fine. Like, use this as kind of a learning experience, or at least just be somewhat cordial with her. She instead is like, you're not in charge. I don't know why you put it there. Like, basically being a bitch, being a mean girl. And it's just not necessary. And yeah, so she's kind of just doing that, and she's just talking down to her. And this is the interesting thing. Ellie goes to Jono, is complaining about Bree, and then Bree goes to Jono, is complaining about Ellie, and Bree basically says to Jono, I'm just going to use the form of passive aggressive, and Sandy is down in the crew mess. And she's hearing this. As Bree's coming downstairs, she's like, passive aggressive? Question mark. And Bree says, yeah, it's just, my way of trying to be like, I'm going to be like stand up for myself, but still do my job and be, whatever, right? Be kind in a sense. And she just starts crying in front of Captain Sandy. And Captain Sandy's like, being supportive as best as she, because she doesn't know everything, obviously. She doesn't know anything. And she's just like, yeah, I feel like I knew people, not everyone was going to like me, but, and she's like, why not? Why would, you're so nice. But she's like, is there anything that you want to discuss or whatever? She's like, I'll talk to Aesha when she comes back, which is the proper way to handle it. And Captain Sandy definitely respects that and says, you know, if you ever need to talk though, I'm up at the bridge, you know, so. And when Aesha does come back, she does say to her, go talk to her. She's upset, go talk to her. And Aesha does. And again, I think it's perfectly handled. It's handled correctly. And I think Bree handled herself correctly as well, where she's like, I'm going to talk to her first. I think that's the best way to do. You try to de-escalate something yourself before you get your boss involved. But she's, you know, trying to do this herself. I think it's the best way to go. We're going to see how that turns out in a second. And it's just, yeah, anyway. Yeah, so basically though, that's the way they're going to do this. Sorry, I had to stop and blow my nose. Hopefully that helps with the congestion. So there, let's continue. So yeah, to kind of finish this part of it off with them, Bree, I can't remember if Aesha does eventually talk to Ellie at some point. I can't remember. But yeah, let's just finish up with them first, and there's another thing involving Ellie that we'll talk about. But when she does eventually talk to her, which is towards the end of the episode, she talks to her and she does use the word belittle. I feel like you belittled me and this and that. And, or she did talk to her before, after in the room. She might have actually, and I just don't remember. I literally watched this episode today, guys. But I think she did. And she said something around the lines of, oh, I think she's just playing a victim, which is like, no, you're being mean because you feel like this person overstepped or whatever, slept with your man or some shit. It's like, first of all, you don't have dibs on him. He's still single. He can do whomever he wants, whenever he wants, and whatever. And if you want to act like this, you're something special, then when really you're fucking not, then that's on you. So, yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous. But yeah, there was that. I kind of forgot about that. But yeah, then there was the little comment that she used, or she felt she was being belittled, which she kind of is being belittled a little bit, or she's at least, maybe belittling is the wrong word to use, but she's definitely mean girling here. She's being mean to her. She's all because of some guy. And that's the other thing too, when she used the term like, you know, your girl code, I'm sorry, but I don't know you. If you're my friend, or fuck, even an acquaintance, and I feel like there's still a level that needs to be achieved for me to even refer to you as an acquaintance, then there might be some girl code in there. There's nothing there yet. And also using the fact that how I trained you and this and that, it's like, and what happens during work hours and what happens after work hours are two different things. She's such a bitch. Anyway, yeah, so she gets freaks out because she said, I'm not belittling you. I don't want to have this conversation anymore. I can't believe you said belittle. Oh my God. And she's making it about her. You're not hearing how she's feeling, and you're making it about you. I didn't like her last time, and I don't like her this time. Whose idea was it to bring her back? Oh, wait. Anyways, it's just, I'm already over her. I was over her before, but I'm already over her. So I guess we'll see kind of what happens. But there was another instance where Bree slept in the room with Nathan and Joe again, and Nathan did this time say something to Aesha, and he's just like, what is happening? Well, something needs to be dealt with. I don't know. But it's kind of it with kind of Ellie and Bree, but not the end of Ellie. So when the charter guests are here and they're doing this, what you call it, runway shit. Anyways, they're doing that. And everyone's kind of being fun and goofy with it. Everyone, have Aesha wearing wigs, and some of the guys wearing wigs or wrapping themselves in, like, I don't know, towels or some shit. It was just like they're having fun with it. And here you have fucking Ellie, who's like, bunny costume. And she's like making a big fucking deal about it. And it's just like, what the fuck? Everyone's having fun doing it because they all have shit to do. They have jobs to do. The charter guests want this done. You do what you gotta do to impress the guests. And here's Ellie just kind of being like, let me, strike a pose or something. It's freaking ridiculous. And she's 20 minutes late to showing up to doing this thing. And it's just, what are you trying to prove? It's, I can't stand her. And I think, like, Aisha's right. Like, she uses terms of, like, you're trying to start your OnlyFans. Or, I think you think one of the charter guests is like a scout, I guess. And you think, like, you can get a modeling career out of this or something. And it's just like, yeah, you're wasting everybody's time. It is selfish. And this is kind of where Aisha's like, she's disobeying me. But I think, honestly, she's not taking it as I'm disobeying her, or she doesn't see it as Aisha's giving her an order here. She's more concerned about this fucking runway thing than in, like, actually doing the fucking job at hand. So that's just that. But that's basically it with all of that. Let's go over to Jono real quick. Now, it does look like his first meal, the lunch, was good. They liked the food. It was great. It was like this family style meal that he had. It looked fine. They seemed to enjoy. All was going good. Aisha over the mic says, they liked your food, and yay, Sandy hears it. So it's all good. And then we have dinner. And I don't know, the steaks looked pale as fuck. I mean, they seemed to think it was good. Except for the words aren't coming to me right now. The primary. And the thing is, it's like, the primary is what matters. That's the one you need to impress the most. And she said, like, her steak was dry and everything, and they seemed to like the dessert and everything. I don't know. But with that, because Sandy did see that the steak, the one plate was kind of left there, barely touched, all of that. And she's like, is there something wrong with the food? And she, I can't remember if she tasted any of the food, but she said, like, there needs to be a change made. And she goes back to Norma and she says, is that chef still available? So I guess we'll see kind of what happens with that. But I think, like, if yeah, he's getting fired. He's fun. He really is fun. And I like him. I like him as a person. But the problem is if you can't do the job properly, then you can't do the job. And I mean, I know Aisha made a comment about he must have cooked like 1,000,000 steaks. It's very possible that he hasn't cooked 1,000,000 steaks, because he is not a chef. Not a. I don't know. But I mean, yes, I do hope that he can get back to first charter type meals and get this, just bang it out and do it. But I just don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah, and I think we're gonna see Dave, and it was very satisfying for me because I do listen to Watch What Happens, and they also said the same thing that I said. I felt so validated, like, oh yes. But yeah, that is basically it though for Below Deck. I guess we'll see what happens with all of this mess next week. But that is it for me with this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps, every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Week Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.